video is not including the max modes because this is where the difficulty spikes. Let's get what, 500 likes on this video and I will make the video covering all the FNaF max modes. Well, I guess it's time. If you know anything about Five Nights at Freddy's, it's that when you beat the first 6 nights of any FNaF game, you get to unlock the game's custom night. And if you were to put all the animatronics to their highest level, you get what challenge runners call a max mode. This max mode is what's considered to be the hardest challenge you can do in all of the games. While pro runners can beat these challenges on their first few attempts, how long would it take to beat them if you have no experience whatsoever in those games? Well, that is exactly what I'm doing today. I have played through all the main 6 nights before, but never even dared to attempt the max modes at all. So sit back, relax, and let's find out together how hard FNaF's hardest challenges really are. You're currently watching part 1 of what will be a 3-part series. Today's video I will be taking on FNaF 1, 2 and 3's max mode. Part 2 will cover FNaF 4, Sister Location and Pizza Sim. Then in the final part, part 3, I will not only try and beat 50-20 mode, but also a challenge that is way harder than that. So stay tuned. Also, like I mentioned in my previous video, we now have a community Discord server, so be sure to join and hang out with me and other fans of the channel. With all that said, like and subscribe if you end up enjoying this video, and let's get right into the first max mode. As you saw in the intro card, FNaF 1's hardest challenge is 420 mode. But what does that even mean, and why are these max modes even considered difficult in the first place? Well, let me first explain the gameplay of FNaF 1. If you already know your way around, you can skip to this timestamp shown on screen. Now, FNaF 1 has probably the most bare bones and easy to understand gameplay in the entire series. Essentially, we sit in the office for 8 minutes and 55 seconds, trying to defend ourselves from the incoming threats. To stop Bonnie, Freddy, Chica and Foxy, we can close either the left or the right door. And for Foxy specifically, we can prevent him from moving by looking at him through the cameras. The problem is, all of this takes up our juicy power, so we want to use everything as sparingly as possible. Pretty easy to understand. But now listen up, because I'm only going to explain it once. Because now comes the part that separates the hardest possible challenge from the pretty easy normal nights. You see, in nights 1 to 6, each animatronic gets assigned their own difficulty number in the form of AI values. They also have their own interval timer that will not change. In FNaF 1, these interval timers are separate for each animatronic. Let's take Bonnie, for example. Once this interval timer passes, the game generates a random number between 1 and 20. If that number is lower or equal to the given AI value, the animatronic will move. Since the AI value is set to its highest, 20 in the max mode, means on every given interval the animatronic will move, because the generated number will always be lower or equal to 20. Got that? I sure hope so, because now it's time to actually tackle FNaF 1's hardest challenge for animatronics set to their highest difficulty, 20. Okay, so once the night starts, we need to go over what you need to do for each animatronic so we can develop our ultimate speed 420 mode every time strat. Starting off with Bonnie. I'm gonna be honest, Bonnie's probably the least threatening out of the 4. With minimum movements, Bonnie can start reaching your left door at around 20 seconds in. So technically you don't even need to check your left door until then. But if he ever reaches your office, we can easily shut the door on him. Because he is on max AI, he will also immediately leave once his interval timer passes. If the door is shut, of course. Keep in mind that Bonnie will always go back to the dining hall if the door is shut on him. This will also rarely happen, but if Foxy reaches your left door while it's shut on Bonnie, it will also get rid of him. Speaking of, let's talk about Foxy. While he seems threatening at first, he is surprisingly easy to deal with. If we do nothing, he's able to reach our office after 3 of his movement intervals have passed. He will then either reach your office after a couple seconds, or if you check cam 2A, can force him to instantly reach our office instead of waiting. Now, to prevent all of that, we can do a little trick called looking at the fucking cams. That's because Foxy is the only animatronic we can prevent from moving. We do this by just checking the cams. It doesn't even matter which camera we're looking at. So just like Mom always said, a cam check a day keeps the Foxy away. Or some shit like that. Wait, no, that's not what I wanted to say. If you check the cams frequently, you can even prevent Foxy from reaching your office at all. This works because Foxy is given a so-called stun timer, which means his next movement opportunity will always fail no matter what AI level he's at. So our ultimate beat 420 mode every time strat already looks pretty good. Check the left door, check Foxy, but we still need to do something for the right door. Conveniently, this is the side where Chica attacks from. Similar to Bonnie, she can only start appearing at the right door at around 25 seconds in. That's because she needs to go through 5 successful movement intervals to reach us. A good thing to keep in mind is that she can only be at our door if she previously was on cam 4B. So instead of checking cam 1C for Foxy, we can switch it to cam 4B to always see Chica before she attacks us. If you ever need to make sure Foxy isn't progressing, you can shut the door on Chica and check his cam. If Chica isn't there but you still want to check on Foxy, don't forget to close the right door. Finally, to prevent that from happening, we can add the final step to our ultimate beat 420 mode every time strategy. Because Freddy is a bit quirky with his movement, it's time to introduce the first of many fun things to make max modes easier, but they are also intended so it's not really a glitch or an exploit. Oops, something like that. Anyways, say hello to cam stalling. Essentially, cam stalling prevents an animatronic from moving as long as the camera is currently on them, whether you're actually looking at the cams or not. This only works on certain animatronics though, so we can't just cam stall everybody. With Freddy being one of them and his last possible stage before killing us being cam 4B, we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone by keeping the cams on 4B. That's because Chica will always override Freddy's place if they're sharing the cam. Why is that? I have no clue. So that concludes our ultimate strats. Left door check, Foxy check, right door check. Done and done. And we also have a hand cam now, hello. Just to like, I don't know, show the inputs. Thought that'd be kinda cool. You can only mess this up if you fail this pretty simple cycle. I mean, what else can I say about this? Well, I'm excited and kind of scared of FNaF 2's max mode. Knew it. Knew it, bro. F this game. There we go. 0% left. Nice. No Foxy appearances. That was pretty good. Yeah, let's be honest, while it all sounds quite difficult, FNaF 1's 420 mode is really just the tip of the max mode iceberg. I mean, I beat this shit first try and I'm quite confident that 99% of anyone watching this can beat this challenge with this strat within like 3 attempts. There even is a way to save even more power by only checking the right door if we've previously seen Chica in cam 4B and trust Foxy not to attack us. But that would fall in the green run category, which I'm not doing today. If you want to see the full completion of this or any of the other max modes, you can watch them on my second channel, IceeG VODs, or linked in the description down below. Enough said, let's move on to the next max mode. Let's be completely honest here. I'm sure 99% of you watching this know that FNaF 2's 1020 mode is what's considered to be FNaF's second hardest max mode. So it'd be quite stupid to just go straight into it. Instead, prior to all of that, we're going to use the fact that FNaF 2 has challenge max mode presets to prepare ourselves for what's to come. So before starting anything, let's talk about FNaF 2's gameplay. This time we only need to survive for exactly 7 minutes. Just like FNaF 1, we also have the camera systems as well as the door and vent lights to see if an animatronic is near. Instead of closing the door though, we're going to be using the mask, camera winder button or the flashlight to get rid of the animatronics. When it comes to intervals, they're literally all set to 5 seconds. So keep that in mind. And that's pretty much all you need to know. So let's start with the first challenge. Similar to FNaF 1's 420 mode, I'm going to explain what each animatronic does and how we can get rid of them, all to build another foolproof method of beating the max mode every time. So let me first talk about the animatronic that is always active and isn't even on the AI selection screen. Yes, I'm of course talking about the puppet. She chills in cam 11 and she is pretty self-explanatory. Wind up a music box or get killed. But that's of course not all of it. Funnily enough, on both nights 6 and 7,
Say that again?
Her AI level is set to only 15. This also goes for most, if not all, the animatronics on Night 7. Which, believe it or not, actually makes the max mode even harder, but more on that later. The puppet's music box will fully wind down after around 16 seconds, and for the puppet to then leave her music box, she needs to roll a successment movement opportunity, which isn't guaranteed because, like I said, her AI is only set to 15. While trying to leave her music box, we can also prevent her from leaving it entirely. We do that by shining our camera flashlight at her, which will completely stun her from getting a successful movement opportunity, similar to what we used on Foxy in FNaF 1. If she ever does leave her music box, we can hear this haunting sound. This means she has a 1 in 10 chance of killing you every second if you're in the office, so I'd recommend to keep this shit wound up. To counter our chilling on cam strat, Scott added this guy. While Riddle Foxy is set to an AI level of 20, his actual AI level is set to 15 or 17 depending on who you ask. Why did Scott do this? I don't know. And I'm gonna be honest, Foxy is pretty complicated, so be sure to roast me in the comments if I get anything wrong. So, Foxy, like mentioned before, has an interval timer of 5 seconds. Every 5 seconds, the game checks if this equation is lower or equal to Foxy's AI, or 15/17 in our nights. Alterable value D is essentially just a value that slowly increases if no animatronic is present in your office. Which pretty much means the longer Foxy isn't in your office, the higher the chances of him entering your office. Funnily enough, this counter can be reset if you shine your flashlight in the hallway, even if he isn't there. If he then enters your office, this shit happens. I'm keeping it a buck here, I have no clue what any of this means. Just know that you should flash your light at Foxy to keep his timer above 0. Because if the timer is at 0 and he gets a successful movement opportunity, you'll die. Enough of Foxy, he's starting to piss me off. Let's talk about the much cooler Fox. Guess what? Mangle's AI isn't actually 20, it's 15. Mangle will make their way past the puppet's music box and ultimately into your right vent. What separates the Mangle from the other animatronics is that when they're in your right vent, you can see them with your vent light or actually hear them with their radio static noise. That sounds like this. Whenever we hear that, we only have a limited amount of time to put on our mask. To make them leave, we have to wait a random amount of time with our mask up. Keep in mind that they will always leave after 5 seconds though. And that pretty much covers all the animatronics for Foxy. The only thing I'd like to add is that you should get used to instantly putting on your mask when you're switching from the cams to the office. Along with that, since you'll be able to hear Mangle, don't even bother checking the vents for this night. Yeah, pretty boring. Definitely the easiest. Yeah, old me is right. This challenge is definitely the easiest, because I did it first try. It essentially just teaches us how Foxy works on his highest AI level, along with Mangle's radio static sound cue. This also goes for every challenge, including 1020 mode. You can always just wind the music box at the start of the night until you hear this ambient sound. Just to save some flashlight power, even though you're pretty much guaranteed to never run out of it. While not shown in the intro card, Foxy is actually active on this night. I think this is because of the value D I talked about before. The longer no one is in the office, the higher Foxy's chance of entering is, but I'm not 100% sure on that. What I am 100% sure of is that BB, similar to Mangle, actually has an AI level of 15. So that's pretty cool. BB also is essentially just another vent animatronic, which means he'll go through this movement until he reaches your left vent, and will then leave after up to 5 seconds have passed. If he ever does enter your office, he doesn't jump scare you, but removes the ability of you being able to use the flashlight, which will guarantee a Foxy death. Also, I haven't mentioned it before, every vent animatronic will kill you after the interval timer has passed, but only if you flip up the cams. So if the puppet didn't exist, you could just office stall them until 6 AM. More on office stalling in a later video though. Let's instead talk about Golden Freddy. Even if he's set to 20, his actual highest AI is 10. The thing with Golden Freddy is, well, is AI. It's fucking confusing, I'm gonna be honest here. Essentially, every second if you're in the office and not currently using the flashlight, he has a chance of appearing. This chance is calculated with a random number between 0 and 10. This random number is 1. He will appear in the hallway as a floating head if no one is currently in the hall. If you then flash him too much, he will jumpscare you. This isn't that bad usually, cause you, hopefully, have 2 eyes you can see him with. What I would have said if there wasn't a way he can just randomly kill you. I will go deeper into this when I get to the 1020 max mode itself, but here is a little teaser for that. Along with that, Golden Freddy also has a chance of appearing in your office. This is pretty simple as he just needs to get a successful movement opportunity while you're currently looking at the camera. This is easily countered with our instant putting on the Freddy mask strat. And that's pretty much all there is for the second challenge. Just camp the left vent and flash the hall, you should be straight. Ladies Night is up next, and we're yet again introduced to 2 new animatronics. And you know me, I'm good with the ladies. Anyway, like I said before, even when Foxy isn't active, turns out he actually is active. So Chica's move over and make some space for the new girl on the block. Fuck Foxy. Yeah, so Toy Chica is another vent animatronic that comes from the left vent. This is her movement pattern and she has an AI cap of 15. I don't have much else to say for her, other than she works pretty much the same as Balloon Boy, but she instead kills you if you fail to put on the mask at the right time. Someone who does add something to her gameplay is Withered Chica. Her pathing is pretty similar to Toy Chica, and she also has an AI cap of 15, but instead of being visible at the right vent, she actually is invisible and will trigger a blackout after a couple seconds. This blackout can only occur if you're currently looking at the camera, and you should keep in mind that these blackouts can also force close your camera monitor if a blackout animatronic has been in a vent for a long amount of time. If a blackout occurs, you of course need to put on your mask. In night 7, you only have 0.75 seconds to put it on. If you fail to do so within that time frame, you will get jumpscared when you either stop wearing the mask or flip up the camera monitor. Since these blackouts take around 4.5 seconds, we can actually wait around half a second more or until the office starts to fade in to also get rid of Chica, Mangle or BB if they're currently in the vents. So keep in mind to not leave your cursor on the mask button while the blackout is happening, as that will buffer you taking off the mask, meaning the mask will be taken off at the first possible frame, which we don't want. With the help of our newfound knowledge, we can yet again update our 1020 beaten every time strat, that is a Foxy check, puppet wind, and waiting 5 seconds in a mask. By just left vent camping the whole night, the third challenge wasn't all too bad. Before going into both Withered and Toy Bonnie's AI, I just have to ask something. Why is this guy active? It's literally called Double Trouble, and last time I checked, double means 2, not 3. And he's on 5 AI too. If he's going to show up no matter what, why not leave him at 0 or 20 like you did with every other challenge? Whatever. Well, let's talk about Withered Bonnie. Guess what? Withered Bonnie's max AI level is actually 20. Not really sure why Scott did this. Just kidding, I lied, it's also 15. And Withered Bonnie works pretty much 1-to-1 with Withered Chica, but he instead comes from the left vent. Then whenever he's ready, he'll trigger a blackout, and we already know what to do when that happens. The actual other problem is Toy Bonnie. Now if you know anything about FNaF 2, you know that Toy Bonnie sucks. No! Let me make it my mission to tell you exactly why. At first, Toy Bonnie just works as the opposite to Chica. He traverses his path and enters your right vents. For whatever reason though, Scott decided it'd be a fun idea to completely change how he works. Instead of working like a normal vent animatronic, guaranteed to leave after 5 seconds, he has a mix of that and a blackout animatronic. You see, he has a 50% chance to trigger a blackout every half second. So say hello to RNG for every max mode he's in. If for whatever reason a blackout is currently happening and Toy Bonnie's in the vent, he has a 1 in 3 chance to leave every second. So it's pretty much guaranteed that he leaves if a blackout is currently happening. Well, I say pretty much guaranteed.
Hi, how are you? No!
I also have to mention that if his 50% chance to trigger a blackout is successful while you're looking at the cams, he will kill you. But he won't do that if you're in the office. Again, that would be an office stall. Now it's time for... Freddy Circus is the last challenge that adds new animatronics onto our board, being Toy and With It Freddy. Wouldn't you guess it, with an AI cap of 15. The good thing with them is that they work pretty much exactly the same. They have different pathing, but they will both come from the front hallway, and after the last stage will both initiate a blackout. So just keep in mind to again leave the mask on for a little longer to get rid of any vent animatronics. As for Foxy and Golden Freddy, they aren't a big deal in this night, I'ma be honest. 2020 is a challenge where your reaction time is tested, as this night only, apart from Foxy, has blackout animatronics. So if you need some way to improve your reaction time, then this night is for you. Since there aren't any blackout animatronics, apart from Toy Freddy, we will always have to wait for either this sound cue or approximately 5 seconds if we have on the mask. As for Toy Bonnie in this night, he shouldn't be that much of a problem if you've beaten all prior challenges I've talked about. Without further ado, we can finally start tackling all the animatronics at once. The problem with this night is that while everyone is active, they're still on such low AI that we can't use our strat to its full potential. Instead, we're going to resort to checking the left vent, flashing the middle for Foxy, then checking the right vent for Toy Bonnie. If no one is there, flip up the cams and wind a few ticks. If someone is in the left vent, flash Foxy and put on the mask for 5 seconds. If only Toy Bonnie is there, flash Foxy and put on your mask. If there is a blackout when you flick down the cams, wait approximately 5 seconds for any vent animatronic to leave. Then immediately flash Foxy and check the right vent for Toy Bonnie. If he's not there, flip out the cams, wind and repeat. If he is there, you have to flash Foxy and hope that Toy Bonnie is kind to you. If you ever takes the sweetest time, you just have to bite the bullet and restart. Fazbear Fever has all the animatronics set to an AI level of 10, but our strategy is still the same as it was in the Cupcake Challenge. So I'd recommend you always check the left vent, middle, then right vent, unless a blackout is happening, where you then can completely avoid checking the left vent because they're guaranteed to all leave after 5 seconds. The problem with this night is that you can't rely on sound cues anymore. That's because there's just way too much going on. So instead try to count 5 seconds every time you put out the mask while getting rid of a vent animatronic. With the higher AI also come even more frequent Toy Bonnie appearances. I can't even put it into words how difficult this challenge was. While Fazbear Fever took me only 3 attempts, I imagined 1020 taking me like 30 at max. Oh boy, was I wrong. Let me just go over my mindset when starting 1020. So the first few attempts were just me going in raw. Pause, let me rephrase. The first few attempts I just stuck to what I learned from all the previous challenges. With the help of somewhat aggressive AI, I thought my strat, or what most people know as the right vent camp strat, was pretty foolproof. But then it was just fail after fail after fail. Most of those weren't even my fault necessarily. The problem with our strat is that it relied on always getting a blackout way too much. So it's now the time that I should mention why the animatronics not actually being at AI level 20 matters so much in terms of difficulty. Let's take Brayden's 2 1020 mode run, where the AI is actually at 20. For example, as you can see, on literally every single time the camera is flipped down, we either get a blackout or Toy Bonnie. Never is the office actually empty. I'll get into why nothing being in the office actually increases the difficulty later on. The point I'm getting at is because of their AI being at 20, you can easily predict when a character will show up, since they always roll a successful movement opportunity. In contrast, in FNaF 1 they can go a different path each time, but in FNaF 2 they always have a set time and path. So throughout the whole night you will always know when and where an animatronic will be. With lower AI, like 15, even though they all have the same intervals, they will very quickly desynchronize throughout the night. Well, let me put it in better words, Toy Bonnie will very quickly desynchronize throughout the night. Speaking of Toy Bonnie... No. Yep. I knew it was time to drastically change up our strategy. Yeah, it's time to absolutely throw everything you've learned out of the window. Okay, maybe not that drastically. It's time to use our AI knowledge, or I guess Shooter 25's AI knowledge, to our advantage. So pull out your lifestyle timer and listen up. This strategy takes advantage of the blackouts to counteract Foxy. You see, I forgot to mention that Foxy cannot kill you during a blackout, which can help us quite a lot. Now the first 17 seconds of the night, we're going to just wind the music box and flash the hallway. While you're flashing the hallway, pay attention to the last 3 digits of your timer, primarily times ending in 1.5 and 5.5. For now, you should flash the hallway until the timer reaches 21.5 seconds. Now flip up the cams and start winding the music box until 25.5 seconds. Now put down your monitor and instantly put on your mask, because there will most likely be a blackout occurring. Once the blackout is done, wait the extra 0.5 seconds, check the right vent, if nothing's there, flip up your monitor. You should now be at another time ending in 1.5, where you can now repeat the cycle again. So wind to the next 5.5 interval and repeat. And congrats, you have now learned the easy part of this strategy. Before moving on to the different things that can go wrong, let me quickly tell you something important. You should always flip down your camera monitor after a 5.5 interval has passed, never before that. But it should also still be for a 6.0 interval, never after that. Shout out to the Bones 5 for this, because in my opinion he explained it very well. Essentially, if you drop the cameras too early, you will still be in Foxy's kill interval. With this adjustment, Foxy is almost never a problem if you flash him after you take off the mask. And with this knowledge, let me go over what you need to do in different situations. Situation 1. There's no blackout, but Toy Bonnie's in the vent. You should be fine with just flashing the hole and putting on the mask, then waiting for a Toy Bonnie blackout. Even when you flip up the monitor after a 1.5 second interval has passed, you should be fine if you just remember to never go past 6.0. Situation 2. You see Toy Bonnie in your right vent after a blackout. If that happens, try to stall him in the right vent while also flashing Foxy until the next blackout interval timer, or a time ending in 5.5, occurs. If you do this, you can get rid of him and anyone else that is inside your left vent. In 99% of cases, you will still have enough time left on the music box, even though you skipped one cycle. But only if you've been following the cycle correctly. Finally, situation 3, the worst one. There's no blackouts and no Toy Bonnie. In this case, you will probably die if you're not experienced with the strategy. But worry not, I still have a solution. If there are any animatronics in your vents, try to get rid of them and stay on cycle. But if that fails, try adding an extra 3 seconds onto your cycle. So flip up the cams on a 4.5 second interval and wind until 8.5 seconds. This timing is very strict, so you will need to play at your best in this scenario. The good news is, if this situation happens twice in your night, you can do this same exact thing again, adding 3 seconds onto your cycle to get back on the normal cycle again. Now there's just one last thing I forgot to mention. Remember when I said Golden Freddy can be a slight problem in these nights? Well, that is because of a bug in this game. Here, watch this footage and try to guess why I died. No, why? No idea? Well, it's because
if you were holding the flashlight on a camera, flip cams down into an animatronic attack, and Golden Freddy spawns, even though you're not supposed to be able to shine the hall flashlight while in danger, it stays lit for 1 frame after closing cams, causing Golden Freddy to seemingly kill you for no reason.
This happened to me twice in very good 10-20 runs. Now with all of that said, it's time to tackle the beasts. Yes! Yes! Let's go! Let's go 10-20! Let's fucking go! Yes! I fucking did it! No fucking way! Oh my god! So, it took me about 65 attempts to beat this night, and I'm gonna be completely honest here and say, I don't know what's to come, but this mode was by far the hardest FNaF challenge I have ever done. I know I'm going to regret saying this, knowing I still have to beat SL1020, Usain's 5020, and another even harder challenge. Speaking of, I know there's a strat that completely avoids RNG in this run. -7, if you know, you know. And max mode strategies I'd like to beat that I won't cover in this 3-part series. So if this video performs well enough, and I see a lot of you asking for it, I'd be super down to tackle those challenges as well. I mean, if you've watched this far, I'm sure you're already enjoying the video. So why not like and subscribe while you're at it, because we still have another whole ass max mode to beat. Yeah, no, FNaF 2 is going to be like 99% of this video, but we still have FNaF 3, so buckle up and roll the intro.
I always come back.
Have you ever heard of cheats? If you have, then you might think they are used to help you. You know what FNaF 3 says to that? Fuck you. Yeah, I don't know why I keep going on these weird tangents, since you know what we're doing. FNaF 3's Nightmare Mode on crack, baby. Since FNaF 3's AI is pretty complicated, Scott didn't even give us a custom night, let alone challenges. So instead we're going to be using the intentional cheats to make the game even harder. Why am I even talking about this? You already know what's happening. Max modes, let's go! FNaF 3's gameplay is pretty straightforward. We have to survive for 6 minutes, and we still have the camera system, 2 entrances to our office, and what's new is that only one animatronic can kill us. In addition to that, we can lure Springtrap with audio lures, but this only works if he's within one camera. If any systems fail, we can then reboot them with the maintenance panel. And that's pretty much all there is to say when it comes to the basics of FNaF 3. There are a couple of things that change across the nights, but since we're only talking about the aggressive Nightmare Night, we can just skip to that. First and foremost, let's talk about how Springtrap works and how him being aggressive actually makes the night more difficult. On night 6, Springtrap has an AI value of 7. This is the maximum AI Scott has programmed into the game, and while it sounds low compared to the usual 20, it actually isn't because of what I'll mention now. So, every second the game runs this equation. Pretty complicated looking, I know. Usually this move counter goes up by 1 every second, but since we turn on the aggressive cheat, it goes up by 2 every second. Then the game checks if that number is higher than all of these 3 values combined. This is his AI value, which in this night is, like I mentioned before, 7. Then this part is the aggression value, which is set to 0 by default, but can be set to 1 if any of these conditions are met. So let's say it's past 4 AM. This part will then be set to a 1. Now the game adds a random number between 0 and 15, and finally the last value are his total turns. Essentially, the game adds a 1 to this counter every time Springtrap fails his movement, which is just put in place so Springtrap won't fail his movement through the entire night. And that's pretty much it. For better representation, this is what it would look like during a night. Since I'm developing my own strategy here, actually knowing where Springtrap moves to, I'll get to later. What's more important now is knowing what to do if system failures happen. On the Nightmare Night, the audio devices will fail after using 2 audio lures. And after using the cameras for 17 seconds, you'll need to reset the camera system. As for the ventilation, on this night specifically, it can only go out if you idle in the office for 10 seconds, or get jumpscared by any of these phantom animatronics. As for how long it takes to reboot a system, we're talking about 4 to 10 seconds if you reboot a single system, and when you click reboot all, it can take up to 20 seconds. Now with all of that said, let's just get right into the strategy I used for this max mode. Normally there's a ton of luck involved in this night. This is primarily because of the audio lures. You see, it has a 1 in 7 chance of failing every time you use it. Because you only have 2 and it takes a couple seconds to recharge, one audio lure fail can cost you the entire night. So this is where the ultimate beat aggressive Nightmare Night every time IceeG approved strategy comes in. Yes, that's the name for it. For this strategy, we need to know 3 things. Knowing where Springtrap is, how to deal with Springtrap without spamming audio lures, and lastly, how to counteract the phantoms. Let's start with the first one. How do we know where Springtrap actually is? This again works in 3 separate ways. Visual cues without a camera error, visual cues with a camera error, And finally, audio cues. Visual cues are pretty obvious. You can always see him on the camera, even if he's slightly hiding. When you can't see him because of a camera error, you can still always know if he moves by the static on the screen. This is best visualized with having the radar cheat enabled. But just knowing if he moved isn't as important as knowing where he moved. This is where audio cues come into play. The first two important audio cues are him going either in or through a vent, and him walking around the building. The prior is pretty obvious, as he can only enter a vent on a camera the vent is connected to. These are cams 10 and 15, cam 9 and 11, cam 7 and 12, cam 5 and 13, and last but not least, cam 2 and 15. With the aggressive G-down, you can almost never close the vent the moment he enters it, unless you're already looking at the vent he's crawling into, as that takes way too long. In 99% of cases, you'll need to have it closed prior to him entering. This is very important for our strategy, more on that later. Then, with the latter sound cue, him walking out the building, we can determine if he moved from one camera to another. It's as simple as that. Again, more on that in the full strategy part. Then there's another very important audio cue, known as the anxiety or danger sound. This will play somewhat quietly when he's in cam 5, 4 or 3.
If you're coming right now, let me see it.
Wait, not that sound. Hold on. Okay, this one. And louder if he's in cam 2, in front of you, or cam 1. This is the best way to determine where Springtrap is. With that covered, let's move on to how we deal with Springtrap in my strategy. This strategy has two parts. Let's go over part 1 first. So start the night with first looking if Springtrap is either in cam 9 or 10. If he is in either of those cameras, close the respective vent. Those would be cam 11 or 14. Now in most cases he will be around cams 6 to 8. For that, go ahead and close the cam 12 vent. After you've done that, you can close the cameras and start waiting. Remember to open and close the cams from time to time to avoid the ventilation going out. Now comes the very simple cycle. You're just going to wait until you hear him moving. At that point, repeat what you would do at the start of the night. Check cam 9 and 10, see if he's there. If he is, close the respective vent. Then close the cams and wait for movement. And whenever you don't see him in either of those cams, don't actually look for him because the cam 12 vent has got you covered. Just keep that closed and keep waiting. Of course, sometimes he'll move right when a video error takes place. Now in most cases you can use the audio lure to the camera he just left and reset the camera system. I say most cases because Springtrap is of course not guaranteed to move back. If you don't see him with the static re-entering your camera, let's say cam 9, close the cam 10 vent. Quickly reboot the cameras and make sure he's in either cam 9 or 10. If he isn't, you know what to do. Another thing to keep in mind is that whenever you hear him entering a vent you know is sealed, go restart either your audio or cameras. But of course it isn't just as simple as that, because sometimes he'll reach cam 5 or lower. When it happens, be ready to change your strategy. Now you want to keep him in cam 2 with the cam 15 vent sealed. This will make sure Springtrap has to go past your window to kill you. Don't even bother with closing the cam 13 vents. Instead, let him either wander back to cam 6 to 8 with the cam 12 vent closed, or purposefully let him crawl to the window in front of you. If he's at this lower stage, you can always lure him over to cam 2 with an audio lure and then wait until he's back at your window, then repeat. You can repeat this for a while, but of course he will eventually ignore the audio lure and go to cam 1. At this point he cannot be lured back to cam 2. You should instead keep luring him to cam 1, or if it's close enough to 6 AM, stare at him. But be sure to keep in mind that you can only do that for approximately 30 seconds. And that's pretty much it. With this strategy we can almost completely avoid the phantoms entirely. Well, kind of. There's still 3 phantoms you need to look out for. First off, Phantom BB. He can spawn in cams 10, 9, 7 and 4. He will jump scare you if you look at him for about a second. Since we're pretty busy checking cams 10 and 9, we need to find a way to counteract him somehow. This is easily done with just double clicking the camera or having a quick enough reaction time to switch cams. Overall, not too bad. Now on to Phantom Foxy. He has the chance of appearing on the left side of your office, where he will then jump scare you if you go too far to the left while he's standing there. For him, we're fine by just paying attention and slowly moving over to the maintenance panel, always going back and clicking the cams if he's there to make him disappear. Finally, Phantom Freddy. Phantom Freddy has a chance to appear at the start of every hour. He isn't too much of a threat since he just jump scares you if you hover your mouse over him or idle for a couple seconds. The problem we have is that he makes the exact danger sound a Springtrap would in cams 5 to 3. Since we can't make him stop that sound, all it does is just confuse you. So all we need to do is just not be pressured and stay calm and keep the cycle going like usual. And that again covers all the phantoms. No, I didn't forget the other phantoms. They're just not a threat since we never check their cams. So with that said, I'm 99% sure you know what it's time for. Let's tackle the final max mode for today. Yes! Let's go! Let's fucking go! Aggressive nightmare done! Nice! Nice! Let's go! With the help of this strategy, I managed to beat aggressive nightmare mode somewhat quickly, with it taking me a bit less than an hour and about 16 attempts to beat. Ignoring cheesy one frame flip strategies, I think what I cooked up here is one of the best strategies for this max mode. Granted, it still requires you to know how to perfectly execute it, but I still think it's pretty good either way. And there we have it. The first 3 max modes beaten within roughly 9 hours. Before ending off the video, I'd like to rank each max mode from the easiest to the hardest. Hold on, past IceeG, I'm going to take over here. So the easiest as of right now is going to be FNaF 1. It took me only 1 attempt and around 8 minutes. The max mode is easy to understand and the cycle, let's be honest, is a joke. Up next is FNaF 3 with around 16 attempts and around 1 hour spent on beating it. There's a bit of luck involved with this one and you really have to start activating your brain for this. Although simple cycle yet again, not that hard to learn, but still harder than FNaF 1. Finally, on the highest spot as of right now stands FNaF 2. 1020 taking me give or take 65 attempts and around 3 to 4 hours purely spent on the max mode, ignoring the challenges. With the strat we found and many more to come, learning this max mode isn't actually as hard as you think. Perfecting the cycle, however, that takes a lot of skill. So to the top it goes for now. Anyways, past IceeG, you can take over again. I'ma head out. Aside from FNaF 2, we've only barely gone past the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the max modes. And if you didn't forget, there are still 2 parts to the series with a lot harder max modes to go. So be sure to subscribe and hit that bell to not miss when those 2 videos come out. Along with that, liking and commenting always helps the video out a lot and I'd greatly appreciate it. Finally, if you want to help me push these videos out even quicker, you can become a YouTube member while also getting yourself a few fun benefits. But no pressure. Again, we now have a community Discord server, so why not come say hello? With all of that said, I really want to thank you specifically again for sticking around to the end, and as always, this has been your host, IceeG, signing off.